Are we good?
We're good.
Oh,
All right,
there we go.
It's working?
Yes.
All right, I'm not touching this. All right, so welcome to the channel. I am basically bringing a friend of mine from college who I went to the University of West Georgia with. Her name is Shanell Scott. She hung around a lot of people that I was associated with, a lot of the creative and artistic community of the University of West Georgia. And what I wanted to do was bring her on to tell this compelling story of basically leaving in America in the age of COVID-19 of 2020 and being able to be a digital nomad and travel the world. So I'm going to let her take over from here. If you both want to introduce yourselves.
Cool. I am Shanell Scott. To some of you, you may know me as your favorite feathered traveler. If you wanna.
I'm Brianna Nash. Just Bree.
Cool.
That's how we do that.
So tell us a little bit about your background, your education, where you're from, city you're born, that kind of stuff. Give us a background of, hobbies and who you are as people.
Cool. I am, as he told you, I went to West Georgia. I am from Atlanta, Georgia. Decatur. Anyway.
Decatur, where it's greater.
Decatur, got a rep for my city.
Okay.
So I went to West Georgia. I am a poet, first and foremost. I went to school for journalism, convergence journalism, sociology. Anyway, I guess a little bit of background. I've always been a writer. Traveling has always been a dream of mine. And I'm just out here living life currently. That's what I got.
I am originally from Chicago. I was raised in Cobb County. Around different parts of Atlanta, but mostly Cobb County. I went to school in Orlando for graphic design. I finished my degree. I moved back to Chicago for a little bit just to get in touch with my roots and everything. I spent a lot of summers there. My grandparents, my father ended up moving or relocating back there. Mm-hmm. I moved back to Atlanta, and now here we are.
Nice. So currently, where are you two ladies at?
We are in Morocco.
Yes.
Agadir.
And Chera Jadida.
Yeah.
So in location of that, I know a lot of people who might know world geography. They might know like Marrakesh, or they might know Casablanca. Those are like two major cities in Morocco. How far in relation to those cities are you at? Are you on the western part, northern part, the east, the south?
Southwest coast.
Right. We're 2 hours from Casablanca. Casablanca is south from us. Mm-hmm. And 2 hours from Marrakesh, which is north from us and more inland.
Nice.
And we're closer to the ocean.
We're right on the Atlantic.
We're actually right on the Atlantic Ocean.
Oh, wow. So you guys are right on the sort of the western tip of North Africa, right?
Right.
Awesome. Okay, that's interesting. What is there like a beach culture?
I was gonna say Tagazout.
The whole Agadir is beach culture. This is where the surfers come.
From all over Spain, Germany, France,
California.
Come
Australia.
Here.
Are there any Australians there?
Have we met any Australians? I think when we first got here, there were
the guys
who
had the one who had the didgeridoo or something.
Probably.
I think he was Australian.
That sounds super Australian.
Right.
So, the whole story and, the reason why I wanted to do this YouTube video is like a couple months ago in the beginning of COVID-19, this is probably around February or March. On my Facebook, I noticed that Shanell had posted that she had been in Morocco and for an extended period of time. But the second point that I was getting into was, what is the story of the start of your travels? Like pre-COVID, what was the whole game plan of the story and how it's evolved of being a digital nomad.
You got it.
Okay. So, just to give everybody a real of how where we started and to now. 2, 3, 4 years ago. Should we say maybe 2 years ago, 2 or 3 years ago.
Mhm.
She was actually looking into taking a sabbatical for 3 months. The more research she did, the more she decided she wanted to leave the country. In that time that she decided to leave the country, I was really trying to figure out like where or what. We've been friends for some time. And I was trying to figure out. I was working as a sales consultant for Verizon. And I was trying to figure out, like, like, what am I here for? What am I staying in Atlanta or even in the States? Because it's always been a dream for me to just travel. And I had a conversation with my best friend, and he was basically like, why don't you just ask her to go? And I said, he was like, what are you staying here for? Just go. Just ask her if you could go. So I took that liberty, faced my fears, and asked her if I could join her in her travels. And instantly she said yes. And from there, we had little conversations about the seriousness of leaving the country, and we started our research. Anything you want to add to that?
No, I think that was good.
Yeah.
The research was extensive.
Our research was extremely extensive. The 4 things that we first started off with in researching is being black, our hair,
Right.
because
We've
our
heard
hair
that
is
it's
not acceptable everywhere.
True.
Let's see, hair, being black,
being women and our rights
also, right,
as
our
women.
rights as women, and also our rights in our lifestyle. So like LGBT and whatnot, because these are the type of things. In looking at these 4 things, it's pretty much like, where can we go that we're not going to instantly die as soon as we get off the plane?
So looking for like what is going to be acceptable and what is the best locations to be in. That's
right.
like accepting towards what you guys are trying to accomplish as career and personal choice.
I was going to say, because arts and progression and technology were super important to us as well. So yes.
Right.
So, you end up in Morocco, but what was where were you traveling to? Like, what is the beginning of that story? So 2 years ago, Shanell joins Bre on this journey of leaving the United States, which is kind of like a foreign concept to a lot of Americans, because we're kind of like so used to like being like America is the greatest country and we never want to leave. But it's interesting hearing like expats and what you guys are talking about, being digital nomads where you're working and doing entrepreneurial routes and like leaving the country and actually finding that the world's much bigger than you even realize.
Yeah.
So listen, everything that we were looking for outside of the States is like, it's there. And I'm like, I don't want to get on here and like America bash, but
right, we're not gonna do that, but
right, but the lifestyle that we were looking for. So everybody knows America's super stressful. We are work culture, capitalism. Got to get money. Got to push the metal like you are always on the go.
got to get that money.
Right, and that's cool. Very, very grateful for having that mindset, but I had the feeling, she had the feeling that there was something better and a little less of what that is. Somewhere where we're able to work or do what it is that we like to do or love to do without having the stress of, I don't even know what you would call.
We want a better work-life balance. and better lives, like less stress in our lives, without having to strain ourselves to the point where you're on call, you can't have your vacation the way you want it. You can't, like, you don't have to second guess every single thing you do because your job comes first. That's really what it came down to in a lot of ways.
Also, and I'll speak to, we don't want to go too far into the whole political thing, but just as far as like the whole being black in America, at some point, and there are different types of people. Like if we go back into history on like the people who came to America and people they brought to America, some of them left for a better life because they were tired of what America did, I guess, just to black people. And it's not about not wanting to fight the fight, but having the burden of fighting a society or fighting a system that is against you at some point just becomes really, like, it adds to the stress that is there. And in some cases you would think that you don't want to have like children there, as like I would be afraid to have a little black son, or I would be afraid to have a daughter in America for the simple fact that there's just too much going on. There's so many lessons that I still have to teach my children, but I don't have to teach them in an environment that they would also be stressed out in.
No, I totally understand. So you're like basically saying, let me try my hand somewhere else. Let me just see what's out there that I don't know.
Right.
And I'm just going to go take a risk and just do it for the sake of less stress, more inclusion, as what you're talking about, and feeling like, you know, you're finding out a different part of yourself, like you're discovering the side of who you are. Which I don't know. I always tell people that they should travel, and you know, a lot of people that I talk to, they'll say, "Oh yes, I travel," and then some people will say, "I've never traveled in my life. I've never been out of the country." And I always find that weird because it's like all your perspective is just in America.
Okay.
Like all you know is Alabama, Florida, California, but you don't know London and Zurich and you know, like Zimbabwe, like Harare. Like you don't have that sort of mindset of like what else, all of the rest of the world, which is a huge population. There's so many people. There's 350 million people in the United States. There's what 6.9 billion outside of it.
Right.
Encapsulated in
right. So the whole concept of America is just, it is really crazy. It's a weird brainwash, honestly.
I would go as far as to say that America still could be it.
Yeah.
However, I will not make that assumption without experiencing something different first.
Right.
Got you.
Right.
So you're in Morocco right now. Take me through the moment that you left America and you said, I'm going to start this new life. What were the locations that the two of y'all were looking at?
Originally, we left to actually move into the Netherlands. Our hope was that we would move to Utrecht or Haarlem, which is outside of Amsterdam. Amsterdam is way too busy. It's a lot of tourists there. It's really, it's like super populated. And we wanted to like get away from like the hustle and bustle, but still like have the city life. I'm from a major city, like Chicago's busy as well, so I need that. But I also like the idea and the tranquility that there is in the South or whatever. And Shanell needed that.
I am a suburbs type.
Shanell was looking over at you like, bro.
Listen,
right.
I enjoy going to the city, don't get me wrong, I do. But I am very much a suburb, or almost slightly country, but more so suburb. So I like the quiet. I like the quiet around me, but I like hearing the cars in the distance.
Hey, that's the poet in you. The poet in you is that You're like sort of the suburban slash, I like to go up to the mountains just to get my,
Right.
And
I don't know.
what's crazy? Now I'm thinking about it. I'm sorry. It's a complete side note. She's an extrovert and I'm an introvert, and I like to be in the city and she likes to be in the quiet.
Yeah,
So it's really weird
it's
thinking
really,
about
it
it.
really is.
Right.
It really is. I
Anyway.
will excommunicate myself quicker than she will.
So I guess to get back to it, we were moving to the Netherlands.
Yes.
A couple things fell apart, even up to like 5 days before we left.
3 months. We were there for 3 months.
Well, hold on.
We got to go through it and not skip to the end.
No, I'm not.
Oh.
We were 5 days before we left America. Our accommodation fell through.
Okay.
We had booked it 3 months before we left. Our Airbnb.
Oh,
So we didn't have a place to stay 5 days before we left. So we were
Right.
scrambling,
Oh my
and we
God.
ended up booking a place in a small town called Teal.
Teal. For those
Teal.
of you who, so it's hard because some of the Dutch people don't even know what teal is. So, right, if you want to know about teal, or if you ask somebody or come, just say Felipe. It's the fruit capital there. So Felipe is the little fruit guy.
It's a little berry.
He's a little berry, but that's how they know him, or that's how they know that town, instead of saying teal.
Yeah, so they're like a jam town, fruit town, lots of farmers, lots of agriculture.
Best fruit I've ever had.
I also say some of the best fruit. Next to Morocco, some of the best fruit we've had.
Yes.
Wow. So it's almost like you were staying in a hostel, like that.
No, we got an Airbnb.
Oh, you got another Airbnb. Okay.
Yeah, it took 2 days to find one.
Hostel life is where it's at. I like it when I was in Jamaica. I stayed in Kingston for like $25 a day or $29.
Well, that's not bad.
But it was like just basically living in a house with lots of tourists. So it's really cheaper. But so you went for the Airbnb approach, and then what else happened?
We go for Airbnb because it's more like living in a place. You get to, you experience the houses, just typical accommodations. I'm sure most people are familiar.
Integrate.
Right.
It's better for integration. So if you're inside of a Airbnb, 9 times
in a
out
neighborhood.
of 10, you're in a neighborhood. Where you're able to like meet some of the people around, check out some of your local areas in that neighborhood, and it's a better way to be able to integrate into a system or a society. So
those neighbors become either acquaintances or your friends or whoever. The good thing about Teal, even though no one knows about it, and even though it was further away from where we wanted to be, was that not very many people spoke English. So that helped with our language learning quite a bit, because either we would speak English and they would literally run away from us, or we had the opportunity to like really, really just try and put our best foot forward with the language. So
they speak Dutch, right, in the Netherlands?
They do speak Dutch, yes.
Dutch, okay. I'm right on that, okay. I was making sure.
It
was like one of those border places. You know how like Switzerland is like different languages?
Right.
Yes. There's a couple of countries around that area that all do that same.
Right. Like the Alps, it's like that particular area, you don't know what language is spoken in specific towns.
Oh, God.
Imagine learning 4 languages as a child. Like how crazy that would be.
I am envious.
And jealous.
I am so envious.
The fact that even in all the countries that we have been to, or the people that we've met,
3 languages minimum.
That's everybody. Everybody speaks like 3, and it's crazy because coming from America, I mean, it's a requirement to take a foreign language in high school,
right?
And then you take 1 in college, but it's not a requirement to just like keep learning a language. Whereas here, they're integrated soon as you get into, I don't know what Sofian is. He's 10, and he's learning French now. But then you have to learn French and English, and you have to continue to grow in that stuff.
Yeah, you can barely get Americans to speak English and Spanish. Like it's like, dude, like half the world can speak English. Like you go to China and they speak English. And you go to other countries like Germany, they speak German and English, and it's
Right.
almost like we haven't gotten with that program, like making kids bilingual. Like we don't learn French, we don't learn Spanish. There's a few people in America that pursue it and they're good at it. I mean, some they grew up in LA and they learn Spanish because they're around the association, but in general, like, you know, that's it seems like we're lacking in that discipline of like multilingual and bilingual.
Definitely.
So you get to the Netherlands. I'm trying to we
No,
go.
it's okay.
But it's cool. It's cool. We're gonna bring it back. We go to the Netherlands, and what happens after that? Like, what is after that 3 months? Like you were talking.
Go ahead.
So after that 3 months, and just to kind of like make a long story short, we were looking for jobs and whatnot because the integration system or the immigration system is really tight, like the bureaucracy of it all, of getting your visa and whatnot, because there are things that you have to get in order to stay there. And the route was you can't have a visa or you can't get a permit without a job, and you can't get a job without a permit. And so we kept coming up against those two things. Also, when you're in a country where they speak English, like in your major cities and stuff, they speak English, but the comprehension of English is a little bit off. So while we're on the phone with immigration and we're asking them these questions, they're not necessarily understanding us, but they're
giving us answers.
Right, but they're giving us answers. So
Okay.
we spent like the last month just trying to like find like a particular job to get us a permit. When we did find a job to get us a permit, we found out that we can't have those jobs because those jobs should be offered to Dutch citizens first.
And then European
citizens, and then
you.
foreigners. So because anybody
preferential treatment here, and then whoever's left over.
Pretty much. So because it wasn't a major skill, and so our choice was, or what we decided to do was, well, we thought that we had at least 10 days left in the Netherlands, and so we decided to go to the UK because it's only, first of all, it's like a $10 trip to fly over to the UK, but the flight is like,
it's $10.
Listen,
right across the pond.
Anywhere in the European, all the trips are like max,
$30 on
maybe 20, max $30 to fly somewhere.
And is it like a small plane? You're talking like a commuter, or you're talking about like
any, like if there's small planes, there are big planes like British Air or KLM or whatever, but it's just cheaper to fly over here. Like Europeans are constantly traveling everywhere.
That's
because
super
it
interesting.
right.
It's like to go from like California to like Florida, it's like $700, $900, but like if you're in Hawaii, you can take a trip for like $100, or like you're saying in Europe, it's like 30, $50 for a flight from Germany.
50 is too much. I will let you know that now.
Unless that includes your
Unless
bags.
that includes your bags and stuff, 50 is too much to pay.
Too much. Wow. Okay.
Legit. But yeah, so we decided to go to the UK to give us some time to find jobs over there, because we figured maybe if we had job interviews or something with the 10 days that we had left, we could just hop on a plane and go back to those job interviews or whatnot. And we were only planning on staying in the UK for a month. Well, the last day we get to the airport and we find out that we have been in the Netherlands one day too long, so we were illegal for a day.
Whoa.
They called the immigration police while we were there, and they just basically said, okay, well, since you're leaving, everything is fine, but you can't come back for 3 months.
Oh my God.
All of our stuff is in the Netherlands.
With a friend.
With a friend of ours. We packed 1 month worth of clothing, maybe a little over a month worth of clothing, and went to the UK. Shopped the entire time we're on the plane.
It's June.
You're like, this is what I'm gonna wear. This is
right.
I love you clothes, but you're gonna be on me for like 3 months.
Right. Shopped the entire time. We get to the UK.
Wow.
we're staying in Boston, Manchester.
Manchester.
Manchester's cool. We're staying there, and I guess I don't know. You wanna...
Well, we chose Manchester, one, because the flight was cheap, but also because, again, the hustle and bustle of London seemed like too much, especially when you're coming from
They said it
a
was
place where
fast.
there's farms and all this other stuff.
Mhm.
You could walk in the street, you're biking everywhere.
The Netherlands
Man-
is super slow.
I was gonna say it's super slow.
Super quiet. Like I walk faster than the cars there.
Oh yeah, crossing the road and all that.
Right.
Yeah, Manchester. So I've taken trips to Sheffield, which is
Uh-huh.
kind of like you're headed up to like I think that's like you're headed up to Scotland.
Yeah.
Right.
But Manchester was between that, I believe. Don't quote me on this, but
No, it's definitely
No, it definitely is.
London, and then like you have like
Manchester.
yeah, and then you go
Up
upward.
there. Right.
Yeah, so it's definitely like sheets and just whatever farmland.
So we chose Manchester because they thrive in the art culture. And we were like, that's cool. We'll go to museums, we'll do this, and then we'll come back.
Right.
Obviously, we weren't planning to be there for 3 months, so yeah, you deal with that. I don't know what to say about Manchester.
Okay. Again, another long story short, Manchester was an interesting experience for us, honestly.
Mhm.
At first, Manchester was this is tough. So to be complete, okay, so
we can't like beat around the.
Yeah, we'll be transparent about Manchester. Manchester was cool. We stayed in 3 different places while we were there. We stayed in Boston, and we were renting a room from a guy, and that was cool for however long that happened. Then so we'll talk about being a digital nomad. We'll go into that currently. Because we had left the country and we expected one thing, but the plan kind of dismantled as far as money. And I'm sorry about the background noise.
No. So for everybody watching right now, they're in Morocco. They're basically going to a coffee shop to be on this Zoom. So there's a lot of background noise, but it's all good. We're gonna get the story out.
Yes. Okay. So the whole thing about being a digital nomad or leaving the States or whatever, like you have this idea of things just being able to work out.
Mhm.
But we quickly learned that money runs short, plans fail sometimes, and you have to kind of learn how to rework your plan. Stay focused on the plan, but you have to learn to rework the plan. And
Mhm.
so in leaving the Netherlands, we were running short, running low on money, and we were just trying to figure out ways to grow money or ways to pretty much rework life. And in that, it takes a lot of self-reflection. It takes a lot of forgiveness. It's hurtful. It's tough. It was extremely tough going to Manchester, and going to Manchester really kind of put us in a different perspective, a self-reflective because we went there with very little funds.
And then when you compound that with the pound, you have even less funds.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, definitely.
Right.
Like $1.35 for each US?
At that time, it was like $1.38.
Yeah,
Right.
it's
And so it was really kind of like ripping the dollar apart.
Oh,
and
yeah.
we didn't have jobs, and our savings were depleting or depleted. And so we lived with one guy. Yes, we paid like the rent for that place, but then we left his house. We stayed in Stockport. We stayed in Stockport for about a week. And that was cool. And then
right. I called my mom and had like a breakdown. I'm like, Mom,
Right.
this isn't working.
Right.
All our stuff is somewhere else. I'm running out of money. I don't know what you think I'm supposed to do.
Hey, like, what is going on?
Right. We're like, it's so much.
I think part of me expected for my mom to tell me to come back, but she was like, this is something that you dreamed about. This is something that you worked for 2 years. And if there is a possibility to make it happen, you stay out there and you make it happen.
I cried so many mornings.
The kind of stuff that like authors write about.
Listen,
these are the kind of stories that people will never ever get to experience in their lifetime. You'll never
crazy
know that struggle of like, I'm working in different countries. Next year I'm in this country. Like you read about people like this, like people who have traveled through Asia and Africa and South America, but you don't really realize that once you take that leap, that journey or that faith, it's
you
just like
you just gotta go with it.
Just go.
You just gotta go with it. I'm talking many tears, many I wish I'd given up. Maybe we should give up. Maybe we should.
I've learned how to stare at walls because we stayed in the UK. I was like, bro, are you okay? I'm fine.
Listen, there's just been so many like breakdowns. I'm really proud of where we came. The last place we ended up in as far as Manchester was Stratford. And Stratford's cool. We got an Airbnb
very close to the city center.
Very close to the city center, Arndale. And the girl the house that we stayed in, she was actually currently in the
America,
States, in Utah, in California, doing whatever with her family.
Oh, wow.
So she was pretty much running her home like a hostel. They were they were running their home pretty much like a hostel. So we were there. There were like people coming in and out. Like they're staying 2 nights or 1 night or whatever while we're just in this room.
So it was like a revolving bed and breakfast /
pretty much.
Like
super cool.
Your home is your home. You come in, you pay the rent, you take care of the house.
Something like that. Yeah, she had they had
her pronoun is their pronoun is they.
Yes, pronoun.
They. Yes.
Yep.
So sorry if
that's confusing.
Yeah, sorry if
we're getting rolling. I mean, it's 2020.
So towards the end of the week that we had been there, I had another transparent moment and I emailed her or I texted her through the app. And I basically broke down what was going on because they weren't there. And I asked them about another person that may have couch surfers, something. I told her, I explained what happened in the Netherlands and where we are now and the whole like money thing, all of that. I took a chance.
We've been here for 2 months at this point.
I took a chance. Right. And they emailed me back and said, hey, I want to propose something to you. And is there a time you can talk? Mm-hmm. I said, cool. 4:00 in the morning. 4:00 in the morning, they video chat me. And they're like, well, it's really early. Why are you awake? And I'm like, I'm thinking about what we got to do. I'm thinking about the next move. I'm just here. I'm just up. I'm a person, when things are going a certain way, I have an extreme insomniac. So the proposal was to stay in the house for as long as we needed. Mm-hmm. But we were to kind of, when the Airbnb guests came, we were going to pretty much live in housekeepers. And kind of like managing what's going on as far
kind of like how you have key posts and like somebody will put the key out for the person to come in. You're
exactly
right. Like it's almost like like
we were managing
the home.
House managers, but it's like apartment management where you clean up an apartment or you have the keys or stuff like that. So she's out somewhere else. And trusting that you're basically running the household.
Right. Correct. And that was cool. It was definitely cool. They came back in September, at the end of September, August?
Last week of
August is when they came back.
2019.
So we were there. We left
America in March.
We left America in March, like the last week of March. We were in the Netherlands until June. At the end of June is when we went to the UK.
Right.
And then we went to their house by July.
It was the
end of July is when we got to their house.
So we were there for like 3 weeks before they got back.
Right. 3 weeks before they got back. Right. And so it was cool. They came back in late August. And everything was cool. Everything was cool. The grounds of like we kept up our end of the bargain.
And
we
were like, this is a little weird. Let's offer some money.
Right. The situation started to become a little bit weird. So even in being in the house, we were still trying to figure out ways for us to make money to potentially leave.
Right.
So at this time, we're looking up like remote jobs or.
Can we do takeout jobs or something?
Right, takeout jobs. Can we tutor? Can we do whatever we can to get ourselves like, what is the life of a digital nomad? How do we really make this work? And in that time, I had picked up a job as a greeting card writer. So if anybody needs some greeting cards, I'm well versed in that.
If you need poetry, if you need anything that involves literary measure, holler at your girl.
I'm here.
By the way, for those that are watching, I know this is going on currently, but I'm throwing in this plug. I am going to put her Patreon in the description.
Yes.
To put her Cashapp in case you want to donate to this story. I'm also going to allow you to have contact. We'll talk about that after this, but I'm going to put all of her social in the description so that everybody who wants to follow, support, donate has that opportunity to do it. Bre, I'm gonna reach out to you as well for any social media you want to put. I'm all for it.
Good deal. No, thank you.
Yes.
Dope.
So really, just again, because we have more questions to get to. Another long story short.
Yes.
It became an uncomfortable situation. We offered her money, we offered them money. They refused to take it. They
ramped up
measures in what we should be doing.
That included taking care of their child.
Right.
Okay.
It got really difficult.
It got really difficult because we started feeling like we were in a form of modern slavery.
And that's not extreme for what was happening.
Right.
We've assessed the situation several times and tried to see what we could have done differently.
Okay.
We literally tried our best in everything. But seeing as how like we picked up a job, so their mom was a dog, a walker, pet groomer, pet walker.
Okay,
yeah,
like
and
where you walk them on the leash.
Yes, and precisely.
So we did that, and that was fun. It was absolutely.
So y'all have basically mastered the art of like odd jobs. Like it's not.
But in real life.
I show up in a city. Hey, what's going on? Oh, people are walking dogs for $15. Okay, cool.
Let me do that.
And Manchester is the place.
Everyone loves their dogs.
Everyone loves their dogs, and when I say that everybody has a dog walker, everybody has a dog walker.
Wild.
So we made best friends with some of the greatest animals, and some of the greatest dogs and cats that we have ever met. Every cat and dog has like old people names, like Henry,
Maud,
Betty, like all.
It was really weird. Like, there's no spots, there's no curlies.
Yeah,
there's Harold, the Scottish Terrier. Like,
exactly.
Pretty much. Listen, pretty much. Like they had some Harold. There's whatever. So we did that, and that was fun. Their mom helped us out a great deal with keeping money in our pocket. It wasn't a lot, but it was just enough for us to continue to make it, to eat, to even go out and have fun when we wanted to.
That's important, guys.
That's important. You
have to have fun.
You have to have fun.
Because having fun is very important. You have to live. What did Drake say?
You have to live.
YOLO.
YOLO, you
Absolutely.
have to live in the midst
No matter
of,
what situation you're in, you have to
you
have
have to
a little
have
bit of fun.
just a little bit to keep that sanity there,
Right.
to keep that peace there, the little bit of peace that you have, the little bit of peace that you want to find.
Right.
You have to step outside of a situation and do it. For us, it was going to museums or going to listen to jazz music or going to have chicken wings that I did find.
With real blue cheese.
To go and find, okay?
Travel.
Because I've been looking for chicken wings
Travel,
forever.
party, money, eat. You know what I mean? Like, what are
Yes.
our priorities?
Yes.
Man.
And so that was just our outlet to go and have fun, to go and have drinks. By the way, if you want a pint of alcohol or a pint of beer, that's only like 2 pounds, 3 pounds at max, which is probably like $2 or $3. Whereas in America, you get a pint of beer and you're gonna pay about 8. Anyway,
Right.
So
Sounds like England.
Right.
yes. And so the longer that we were in the house, we became a little more uncomfortable. We had to figure out ways to get out of that house. It became cold.
There was no heat.
There was no heat.
She wouldn't pay for the heat.
She wouldn't like
literally 20 degrees outside.
Right.
There were heaters in the house,
and she left the house
not to use them because of the furnace. And I understand when you have more people in the house,
right,
the bills go a little bit higher. We're very conscious of that. We don't really care too much for like electricity or lights. We don't really use lights as much, but when it's cold, you have to take measures. And it was cold there. Like, I'm from Atlanta, and we don't experience that that kind of cold.
Like we have winter cold, but you know,
right.
we expect it. We don't have that like
right
11 times a day, 60
Right.
degrees.
Right. And so it was like really cold in there. Fortunately,
November by this point.
October, November, we were fortunate to meet a Jamaican man down the street. He had a restaurant.
Oh wow.
Best Jamaican food in Manchester. So I'm gonna shout him out, Jamie. He is the best. If you're ever in Manchester, take yourself down to Stratford.
Yeah, man.
Right, it's called Yemen Caribbean. He is on Norway Street. Best Jamaican food in Manchester.
Okay.
But we became really good friends with him, and he allowed us to come to his cafe for heat and food, and
gave us an odd job there as well.
Gave us an odd
nice.
job there, and we had conversation. He became the person that we were able to just kind of talk to and release some of the things that were going on with us, with him.
He also lived from Texas. Right.
He lived in Texas
I'm currently in Texas for all those that are joining in, but did you have oxtail? Did you have
absolutely
yes,
curry goat, brown stew, all of it?
The prices on the menu
my
are
God.
nothing compared to what you pay in America.
Because you're paying like 6 pounds, 7 pounds for a plate. A big plate is only like 9 pounds, and that's still less than.
So I went there and I looked at the menu and I said,
trying everything.
I'm trying everything on the menu, and every day
I'll have
there.
I'll have that.
And that's
he had goat, he had escovitch, he had oxtail, he had mutton. We didn't try the mutton because he wouldn't let us.
Did you try the Circe tea?
The who?
Have you had Circe tea? The Caribbean.
No, I'm not sure.
It's for your liver. It's for your liver, but it's like it's got a very pungent taste. Like when you drink it, Circe, it comes from like a root or a tea leaf. They have it in the Caribbean, and that's wild. I don't know if you got
try it.
Yeah, we got to try it. I mean, he gave us this one concoction to keep us warm. It was good. We were kind of lit.
There's like the regular Jamaican food, and then there's Ital, which is more of the vegan vegetarian side.
And he is one.
He is one. He is he eats
pescatarian.
Fish. He's pescatarian. He eats fish, but he didn't eat the stuff that was on there. He had fried chicken,
fried fish. Yeah.
Right.
And then he had like proper chippy. If you so the fish and chips, or the way that they make fries, it's vinegar and salt on there. Those are really good. So we met him.
Start meeting him. You start like working these sort of odd jobs that he has you doing.
Right.
Where is like that, and then the departure of England?
Okay, and that's exactly
that's
where
what
we
we're
have to talk about him to talk about leaving England.
Because he
Okay,
helped
wow.
us. He helped us leave England.
While we were there, we met Thomas Presto from Norway.
Okay.
Thomas runs a dance company. It's the only
Black-owned
dance company in Norway.
Scandinavia.
Right.
Really?
In the Scandinavian area. We were fortunate enough to meet him.
And Thomas is
Shout
a
out,
Caribbean guy himself.
Yes, he's Trinidadian.
And he needed proper Caribbean food while he was in the UK, and that's where he came. We were sitting there one night, having dinner at the restaurant, and we were like, "Hey, what are you?" He's like, "They're just raving. They literally ordered everything on the menu and left with like 8 to-go boxes.
So he was
No
like,
lie.
"Look at this, and that," and they ate like 3 plates in the back and took like 4 with them.
So we spoke to them. We were like, "What's going on?
Where are you guys here?" Because they kept saying they were there for a conference or something like that. And me being the journalist that I am, or the person who's just interested in trying to like really get my writing off the ground, I said, "Well, hey, what are you guys doing?" He's like, "I am Thomas.
I'm Presto." This guy is really amazing. No,
yes,
I mean, seriously, he has trained
choreographer.
alongside Alvin Ailey and greats like those people. Like he teaches master classes with people like that.
I have
So it's like, oh my
coming
God.
out about him. So when we link all that stuff, you'll be able to find that as soon as I get my shit together.
I got you. So he basically just like came through. He kind of walked it like he talked it. You know what I mean? Like he had the credentials to back up everything. And
absolutely.
Wow. Okay. Did y'all go to Norway, or was that?
Well, hold on.
Let the story progress.
Right.
Okay. So I got their information, and as soon as they left, I hit them up on Instagram.
The next day, we actually bought tickets because we were like, enough is enough. We need to leave.
We bought tickets back to the Netherlands the next day.
It's time for us to go.
That night, I hit them up and I said, "Hey guys, I really, enjoy what you do. Is there a way that I can write an article on you, or can I interview you or something like that?" He said yes. Let me talk to my director, which was Thomas. I didn't talk to Thomas. I was talking to his assistant at the time, who was actually there with him. And he said, "Let me talk to him." And maybe 3 days later, after we bought tickets that next day,
had no idea where we were going.
No idea. We just knew we were going back to the Netherlands, to Andover. And he texted me back 3 days later. He said, "Okay, so here's what we want to do. We want you to come to Norway in December, or the beginning of December." And, it's kind of like, "Well, what do you mean?"
I just want to talk to you.
I was kind of like, "Well, what do you mean come to Norway?" Like,
just go to Norway for no reason.
He's like, "Right." I'm like, "Well, what do you mean, like, come to Norway?" And they sent me this list, like, we want you to come to Norway December 2nd through the 4th, or through the 5th, to do whatever it is you need to do. Had no idea what it was. Again, I'm still in the boat of struggling.
Like, we don't know where we're going to stay. We're just leaving England.
We're still trying to figure out money and whatnot. And I really saw it as an opportunity. So we had no idea what I was going for.
Right.
And I talked to her about it, and I talked to my family members about it. It was like,
do it.
What? And so they offered us free accommodation. All the accommodation was on them. We just had to figure out how to get there.
What?
Yes. So we left the UK through help from Jamie. We left the UK November 25th.
Yes.
We left the UK November 25th and went back to
Andover.
Stayed
at the airport hotel.
We stayed there for a day or two. And then we went back to Theo. And
see about our things.
Got our things. We stayed in Theo for about a week. And again, I got the email when they sent me more. It was like, "Hey, we really need to know if you're coming and this is what you'll be coming for. Turns out that it is a diversity and inclusion conference that they have called the Nordic Dialogue. I also wrote about that, so whatever.
Okay.
It's a diversity and inclusion for all the Scandinavian countries.
Oh wow.
So everybody was going to be at this particular conference, and I got a list or the plan of what each day was going to be about, and it was a 3-day conference. And so while I was there, we booked our tickets to Norway. We stayed. We're in the Netherlands. We book our tickets for Norway. We go to Norway on the 2nd. She went to Norway on the 2nd. I got there. Well, you went on the 1st.
Right.
I got there on the 2nd.
Mhm.
We stayed in this nice hotel called the Hub. It's the Clarion. It's one of the nicest ones. Oslo, Norway is where we were.
Oslo.
Yes, Norway is nice. Although we were there for a few days in this conference, it was extremely nice.
So one of the things that I've always been told about Oslo is that they have like very fine dining. Like their cuisine and their food is like top notch.
Yes.
That's all that I hear is that like a lot of the chefs that you see that are
Come
on
from there.
shows, they come from like Denmark, Norway,
Right.
Sweden, Iceland, like not Iceland, but Finland, like those types of areas. And they're very like
Listen,
culinary is like big in Oslo.
the Hub in the morning, the buffet. I have never. The buffet is like cruise buffet. It was like a cruise. Like if you've ever been on a cruise ship,
Right.
It's one of the best buffets I have ever been in my life. And I mean, they had everything from pancakes to omelet stations to eggs to a big bread station.
Of course, they had fish,
salmon,
cured, raw, whatever
you like. That's the kind of salmon they have. They have fruit, vegetables, whatever juice you wanted, whatever cheese you wanted, whatever coffee you want.
They really did a good job of making sure that no matter where you were from, there was something that you could eat.
And top it off, as soon as you get in there, you get a little smoothie shot in the morning. You got a little smoothie shot.
They hit you with the wheatgrass shot?
Yes.
Norway is up on that? Okay.
Oh my goodness. So it was great. And so we were there and we learned so much. We learned so much about the racial tension that goes on there that people don't necessarily talk about. And so you wouldn't.
These are the happiest countries.
These are the happiest countries
in the world.
In the world.
And on the happiness index, these countries are always top 5, 6, 7.
Right. So
all of them.
When we got there and they started talking to us about what this conference was about and the issues of, first of all, also, it was the first time that we had been around so many Black people since leaving. And it was the greatest. It was a really
diaspora.
Yeah, the diaspora outside of America.
Mm-hmm.
It stretched. I don't know. It stretched out so much.
And like because they were from Africa, like different countries, Nigeria, Kenya, etc. But then there were also your islanders.
Mm-hmm.
But these people were Norwegians, like they were all Scandinavian.
Right. But they also had.
It was like you were in a country, but there was like this coming together of a country.
Right.
Okay, I feel comfortable because now it's not just me that being an American, but now I'm around people from all over the globe. And it's not, I'm in Norway feeling like, oh my God, I'm such a foreigner. Now you're actually around other people from so many different places that you're like, okay, we're all foreigners.
Right.
We're all kind of coming together in this convention or conference.
Right. And the point of the conference was so that they could speak to their art councils. So they had their
like
councilmen and stuff were there.
School, like the
School of Culture.
School of Couture was there. Like all the top people as far as your art culture goes. So
the artists were speaking to.
Right. the first day was a panel discussion, and it was basically where the people could, all the artists and people who were from different, like Greenland and Iceland or whatever, like they were asking questions to library directors and school directors and like all these people
Archivists.
about inclusion questions. And let me the first day was tough.
Right.
It was extremely tough because of the answers that they received from inclusion. Again, these are things that you wouldn't necessarily hear or know about because we were shocked. Going to Norway and finding out like certain struggles or the things that they were talking about, it was really shocking for us. And we were there like with our mouths open because we didn't know. Like we came and we're outsiders.
Right.
I'm expecting to just take some pictures, and
Right.
she's gonna write an article about a dancer.
I was supposed to write about a dance group called Tabanka, and I came for something we came for something completely different.
So it's like the perception of like what Norway is, and then when you got there, you thought it was going to be almost like a vacation, almost, where you're like,
right.
It was like we knew we were gonna.
And then you get to it, and it's something completely different. You meet a person
Completely
calls you in, and you're like, holy crap, new land, new places. This is what I've read Norway about. You see people like kayaking or like really cold. Like, I don't know.
Experience any of that stuff. We were in a conference the entire time, and it was cool. Like the experience that we had was cool. We would love to go back to Norway, but the conference just really kind of put a different spin on like Denmark and Finland and like all these, because we met people from all of these Nordic countries.
Iceland,
Greenland, Faroe Islands. So it was just like we really got to see the culture in those people. We got to ask questions from those people. They just opened up and immediately talked to us. They asked us what we thought, and we literally, again, we were shocked at a lot of the stuff that we were finding out. Because again, when you look up these countries, you see them as like the happiest countries. And the thing is, they are. They take care of their people. The countries do take care of their
high tax rate in Finland, Norway, and what am I thinking about? Like Norway and Finland have extremely high rates of tax, but everybody in the country has this sort of social net, health insurance, all of that. And it's like people are happy because everybody from all level, it's almost like the playing field of like their economic is like just in the middle. I don't know. All right,
so
right now, if you just joined or you skipped through the middle of the video, I'm speaking with Shanell, the Feathered Traveler.
Yes.
She's a poet. She is awesome. I went to college with her, and I'm giving her the opportunity. And Bre is with her as well. So I'm just reintroducing it, putting a little.
Bre is a graphic designer. Let me just stop you there. She is one of the best graphic designers that I know. We're not going to just refer to her as like, I'm just Bre. She's way like she's so modest on herself.
All right.
That she doesn't elevate or project those qualities. But when I tell you the skills are dope, the skills are dope, top notch. So if you ever need like the best, her skills are, if you need branding, I don't know, illustration, all the sick with it. So there we go.
Everybody that just came in, I am putting everything in the description as well. We're growing the channel. I'm putting interesting stories with very interesting people, and that's sort of becoming something that I'm passionate about. I want to take it back. So I'm kind of coming in. I know we've gotten on to Norway. We've talked about England. We've talked about Amsterdam.
Yes.
What
coming up to Morocco?
How did you get to Morocco?
We're coming there now. This is after. So this is December that we did this. We went back to the Netherlands and we stayed in this. What?
Go ahead.
We stayed in this little cabin in Ain. I can't even explain where that is. So we'll keep going. And in that month, we decided that
Well, we weren't going to be able to go back to the
we weren't
States.
going to be able to go back to the States.
Our plan was to go back to the States to see family. However, we quickly realized that was not going to be possible.
Your parents
So we
are in-
started thinking.
Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. Your parents are in Chicago or they're in Atlanta?
My father is in Chicago. My mom is in Atlanta.
Okay.
They both live their lives. They're happy, and I'm happy for them.
Yes.
So the plan was to go back to Atlanta.
Mm.
We decided.
But I was going to say, we early in the story we told you that we were moving to the Netherlands. That is something that is still in effect.
We are still
something
focused.
that we're still focused
we're still
on.
focused on the plan.
The goal was the original goal before we get to the story of Morocco. I'm just gonna go on as long as the story takes because this is amazing. But
we're almost there.
Yeah, we're almost there, and we got a lot. We're gonna talk about COVID. We're gonna talk about the food in Morocco, culture of Morocco. We're gonna talk about what it's like being a digital nomad or what people consider foreign. I don't like saying foreigner. That sounds kind of derogatory, but talking about the lifestyle of just being in different countries. So, hold on. Let me bring it back. You are fascinated with the Netherlands. That was the original goal. That's what my mind was.
Still the goal.
Still the goal is to go back to the Netherlands. The goal is we wanted to move from America to the Netherlands, and that was the end-all goal.
Yes.
Cool? All right, we're on the same page. How do we go from Norway to Morocco? What happened?
We get back to the Netherlands. We rent a place in Eim, which is about 30 minutes south or 20 minutes south of Groningen or Groningen, if you're if you speak English.
It's that, but the pronunciation is Groningen.
Another cultural hub, somewhere we really wanted to live. We wanted to be close to there. We sort of shut ourselves in, and in December is when we really made the transformation or
we had the thought process of, well, if we can't get into this country right now, maybe
if we can't get jobs,
we'll
create jobs.
Right, we'll create jobs. Right. We were actually working with a Norwegian on a book, and so we took that time to help him get his book together, or a little bit. And then I also I started writing again for a page called We Were Funky, which is a music publication that I write for. And in that time, we kind of had like a discussion on like what we wanted to do until this process happened. So we decided maybe traveling is a thing to be able to kind of find ourselves in life. And as soon as we made that decision, it's almost like the universe kind of like conspired in our favor.
Clients just fell into my lap.
Clients started falling into her lap. My started
increasing,
and
we started looking up places that we'd like to go.
Right.
We made a plan.
We wrote down on a list. We both wrote down like, hey, okay, what are some countries that you want to go to? And so we wrote them down.
And we showed them to each other.
We showed them to each other, and Morocco was on both of our lists.
Oh,
and
wow.
So her birthday is in February. Okay. And basically, we were staying in this cabin for a month.
Pisces, Bre?
I am.
Late? Okay. That's when we're on the same page. I'm March 20th. We're Pisces.
Okay.
Now, what are you?
I am a Taurus.
Taurus. Okay,
Almighty
that's
Taurus.
completely different. Interesting combo. So February is her birthday.
Right.
Decide to take a trip. What happens then?
Yes. So it was pretty much because we had gone through so much in the past year, as you guys have heard. It was
always like, gotta have fun.
We needed a break. We wanted to take a vacation.
Somewhere we could afford to be.
She was turning 30. I was turning 30. Somewhere we could afford to be. Somewhere that was easy to get to. And so we said, hey, Morocco is the place. That's what we chose.
The lady we started. Go ahead.
Yeah, we started researching because that's what we do. So anytime that you want to travel somewhere, always research. And I mean, like, we watch videos. Anytime we go anywhere, we watch a bunch of videos. We look up the politics there. We look up the geographics. We look up all the fun stuff. We look up the food because that's important.
That's important. What are you eating when you're in the country?
Right.
Because
What
if
do
you're
I
in
need to
Jamaica, you're eating good, but I don't know
Right.
about Sweden. I don't know about.
Right.
All right.
And so, go ahead.
So we do all our research. New Year's Eve, actually, we get invited into the huge mansion that's in front of our little garden cottage that we're staying in. The owner of the house.
This is in the
Netherlands.
Oh, in
Yes.
the Netherlands. Okay.
We speak to the lady about, what we've been up to and all these other things. And she's lived in Ghana, so that was a really interesting conversation. She's a real free spirit.
Right.
And Shanell walks away, and somehow I tell her, I'm like, yeah. So she's like, well, what's next? We're going to live in the Netherlands, but obviously things aren't working out. We're like, yeah, so we want to leave and have a vacation and still work on our language skills and all this other stuff to put ourselves in the best position, but we want to have fun and we want to go to Morocco right now. She was like, oh, really? The neighbors across the street that you met or that you will meet when the fireworks go off are from Morocco.
Oh, wow.
So
it was like destiny. You picked
exactly.
I said the universe just started working.
Everything
just
comes
started
together.
Coming
Right.
So we go and we shake hands with the neighbors. She explains to them that we'd like to have a little sit down, have maybe tea or something, and we'll see how we can work out staying in Morocco for 6 to 8 weeks.
Oh, wow. So an extensive vacation, basically 1 to 2 month vacation.
All of our vacations are that way.
Right. I wish I had a 6 week vacation. Man, that's awesome. Stuck in America.
Hashtag.
That's the next story.
So we meet with them. Everything is good. We agree on a price. We agree on what we can or should be able to do. But while all of this is happening, that same night, we have the conversation about how COVID. We're like, have you seen what's going on in China?
So this is where COVID starts for us.
We are looking at this stuff. We have been watching for 3 weeks, and we're like, well, Chanel's like, what the heck is going on in China? And I'm like, what's going on in China?
I made a little comment. I was like, well, I mean, this sometimes there's
be careful.
Some stuff happening there. And I was like, well, guys, this didn't go too far. And this is in November.
Right. We started talking about it
at the beginning of December.
Right.
About what was going on as far as COVID goes.
Because you guys were closer to Asia than the United States, I'm sure the conversation
started much sooner.
Of Wuhan definitely hit the European Union and other places way faster.
Well, see, it wasn't that bad. So, when we started looking at it in December, and we saw that it was getting really bad over there, it was like, well, what's really going on?
Right.
And we followed it just slowly. We were just kind of checking in on it. This is interesting. This is more interesting than the rest of the stuff that we've actually been experiencing.
Mm-hmm.
So in us getting over we leave and we go to Morocco January 17th. We go from the Netherlands to Belgium. We stay 1 night in Belgium.
Crazy night
we had. Also, we've been to Belgium. This is our second time in Belgium. The first time was when we first got to the Netherlands. So this is our second time in Belgium. Inshallah.
Is there really waffles?
Don't go there.
Anyway.
Or is that just a Austin reference?
They have.
He said they're really what?
Waffles.
Oh.
My God.
Belgian waffles are a thing.
Belgian burgers, Belgian fries, Belgian waffles.
Is that real? Because all I think about is Goldfinger, the Austin Power, and the Belgian waffle.
My man.
Belgian waffles
Belgian
are real.
Waffles.
Belgian chocolate, Belgian beer, just Belgium.
Belgium.
just Belgium. That should be an ad.
We consider
Belgium.
Just Belgium.
Just Belgium.
And just to touch on the language there, since we talk about it, Belgium is one of those places. There is no such thing as Belgian language. I'm sure some people know, for some that don't. They speak Flanders, which is a dialect of Dutch. They will
That's in the
dispute
northern
that,
region.
which is in the northern region, and
And
then
then
the
French.
southern region, they speak French,
Right.
Okay.
which has everything to do with, you know, the wars and things like that, and territorial disputes.
Countries surrounding.
Anyway,
So crazy
Um,
night in Belgium. You guys had fun.
right.
Yes,
We
crazy
met
Up in
some people.
Morocco.
Right.
Right.
Where did you
So then
land in Morocco? Where was the first location?
Agadir. We've been here the entire
We've
time.
been
Okay, so
Agadir this
landed
entire
and
time.
been there the entire time.
Yes.
Correct.
Got it.
We had plans to go to Marrakesh and Casablanca.
Yeah.
However,
To do all the stuff.
COVID
But-
quickly caught up.
Yes. So again, when we got here, we had no idea, like, because when COVID first started, and this is where we'll go kind of into COVID culture, which is coming down on the list. Here we go. So this is where we'll kind of go into COVID culture. The more it grew, the more we started hearing about it. We started looking it up, and nobody knew where it was coming from or what it was when the news started spreading. So when we first got here, we were like, well, maybe this is like an animal transmission thing or something. And so we decided to take up a life of being vegetarians. And it wasn't hard because coming from Manchester, we had been vegetarian for most of the time there because of our host.
Right.
So
Mm-hmm.
we just continued to like eat vegetables and whatnot, which isn't
Also,
hard
right
here because everything is fresh. Everything is freshly picked in the morning,
right,
and sent to your local market. Everything out the ground. Go ahead. What were you gonna say? Sorry. So that wasn't hard for us, but we had, it was cool. We did a few things. We went to the beach. The family that was hosting us, because we stayed in this house, but next door was a family that was hosting us.
Mm-hmm.
And they took us to the beach.
Tagazu,
Aourir. They took us to Sukalad,
which is the largest souk.
Largest souk in Agadir.
Right. There are 1,400 stalls or vendors. 4,000?
Yeah.
There are a whole lot of vendors there.
There are a lot in this.
13 entrances.
In the souk.
Wait. What do you mean by the vendors? Like that? I didn't understand.
Okay, so a souk is pretty much like we talked about before. A souk it's not necessarily a mall per se. It's like a large market of pretty much anything. Like
you
can almost compare it to an American flea market. Right.
Okay.
Right.
There's things going on.
Right.
Okay.
Right. So there's everything in there. So we did some of that stuff. Coming close to time for us to leave. So we've been there. We got there January 17th. We were gonna leave in March, the beginning of March. And the plan was to go back to the Netherlands, get our stuff, go home to visit family, and then it was off to Croatia after that. Well, the time that we were thinking about leaving is when COVID started
choking the world
through the world. So
like what, March, April? Because you got there.
No, so it's early March.
Was earlier than that.
So
America was.
It started getting scary in Europe. That's what it is. It started getting really scary in Europe first.
So Europe,
right.
Yeah, Europe started all of their procedures in February. So it started hitting Italy really hard. It started hitting Spain really hard. And then the place that we had to go back to, we were going to fly back into Groningen.
However, the Dutch decided to let a group of 900 students go to North Italy,
where it was a hot spot, and then bring them back after that. And that was the exact spot
that we needed to fly to. So we said we can't deal. It's like there's no way that we can even know if it's being contained. And at that point,
the zone that you had to fly to was like now becoming a hot spot COVID bed.
Precisely.
Right. So this is where, again, and like we said, like this is the whole travel culture that we've experienced is another thing where we have to think on our feet. And we have to figure out life, and we have to really because this is like in the moment, we have to figure out if we're going to go home, if we're going to go back to the Netherlands, or if we're going to stay here. And that it took a week. So we're preparing to leave. Like she's buying all kinds of souvenirs.
I was like, okay, we're leaving.
In my mind, I'm like, we're not going anywhere the entire time.
What are your parents saying? Like, are you calling your parents on?
No, every day.
I'm like, this is the process, because we're trying to figure it out, because the thing is, America had not started taking it serious. So I asked my brother about it.
It's like, oh, it's not that bad.
Make sure he was like, check with airlines and see what airlines are doing, because if the airlines will tell you what's going on, her parents are like, well, you don't want to get stuck in Africa. And in my mind, and I'm gonna tell, like, in my mind, I said it to her, and she did not like it at all. I was like, bro, I think we're gonna stay here.
I was like, I cannot stay here.
7 months later.
I was like,
right.
The whole time, I'm really like, I think we're gonna end up having to be here.
Right.
And the more that it grew, the more that she started telling her parents, like, okay, but you guys aren't seeing what we're seeing over here. Like, you guys haven't been following it the way that we've been following it. So it became a decision that we had to make. So you can tell people outside of what you're doing, and you can try and grasp what they think, but at the end of the day, we're living this situation because we have to fly through
all these different places.
Like, we travel for a long time because we have the luxury. It's a luxury, but it's also a way of budgeting. Like, we don't have anywhere to be, so we'll travel for 3 days sometimes just to get to an endpoint.
If there's like a 2-day layover, why not?
So
let's go see something.
Yeah. But because we were going to be flying through all of these different places through each hot spot, it was like, it's either stay or go.
Mm-hmm.
And
I actually think I have a sticky note of all the places that we were tracking, because there were so many different cities that we could fly out of.
Right.
So it's like the numbers for Belgium, the numbers for Greece, the numbers for the Netherlands, Germany, all these other places that we could have flown through to get to where we needed to be. But it was like, I'm not getting on a bus.
I'm not doing this. I'm
not getting on a bus. I'm not flying to a hot spot. So while you travel there, all of a sudden, everywhere that you could go to get back to where you need becomes like a zone, like a hot spot.
Right.
So this is what happened, because Morocco, and honestly, we commend Morocco for their approach. So
a lot of people wouldn't like it.
Right. As soon as the cases hit here, touched here,
they closed down hammams.
Which are hammams are like old Moroccan like bathhouses, pretty much. So back in the old days, like Berber people or whatever, they would, when they didn't have like a shower or something in their homes, they would go to the hammam and they would take their showers. It's like heat, so it's like a sauna, but you're like washing up in there, washing your hair, going through the whole process and whatnot. Today, they're a little more luxury than they are.
You can still experience the traditional ones, and those are in neighborhoods. We've been to those. The others are like spas. Right. You can get massages and facials and all that.
Right. It's almost like in the Roman times.
Exactly. You can compare it to like a bathhouse.
Like a bath. Yeah.
Right.
So it's like the traditional Moroccan bath.
Right.
Gotcha.
That you take your own buckets, your own soap, your own stuff, and you fill that stuff up and you do it. And they're really nice. The traditionals are really nice, and I'm sure the non-traditional ones are
even nicer.
Right, nicer. So they started closing those down. They started putting like minor curfews. So it was like, instead of closing at 1 o'clock, because there's night culture here. So as far as Morocco goes, and I'll kind of touch on like different questions that you're asking. As far as Morocco goes, morning time for them starts at 1 o'clock. Nobody is really awake before then, unless they're like getting their children ready for school. Everybody comes out around 5 o'clock. So like your eye doctor is open at 5 o'clock in the afternoon.
You can go to the eye doctor at like 9 o'clock. In the evening, and it's like why?
You go to the mall, like everybody goes shopping for groceries and stuff at night. Like it's like nighttime is daytime.
It's the right time.
Weird. It's almost like Las Vegas or something, you know?
Exactly.
Everybody sleeps in. I was talking to my friend who's from Spain, and they have like the times where you go home and you rest. I want to say it's siesta, or
Right.
I want to say it's like where you go home and you nap. There's a difference of like America has this 9 to 5, you get off, the sun goes down, you go to bed. But you go to like Dubai and other countries like the UAE, and you go to Morocco and you go to other places, and the time and how people interact is different.
Completely different.
Right.
I'll
Like
even
even in the
say,
Netherlands. So go ahead.
I was gonna say, even with the 9 to 5 culture here, it's really shocking because the children don't go to school in the morning.
They pick
They have
times.
different times that they go to school.
So
So
some kids might go to school in the morning. Some
10
kids might
o'clock.
go to school at 5 o'clock in the afternoon. Or,
2 o'clock in the afternoon, and they're
Yeah.
not there all day.
And that's the same, like even in like the Netherlands. So we're used to like we're coffee drinkers, and we're used to going
Currently
to
in the
like
coffee shop. What do you
Currently,
hold up your coffee?
yeah.
oh, it's all gone.
It's almost gone now. But like even like when we stayed in the States or whatever, we would go and get coffee sometimes at 6 o'clock in the morning because that's
Start your day.
That's when we start our day. We'll go have coffee. We might go for a hike or something like that. In the Netherlands, absolutely not. We would have to go and get coffee around 9:30, 10 o'clock. And so transitioning.
Even and that includes your Dunkin' Donuts.
Right.
It's not open at 6 o'clock in the morning.
So transitioning from being one of those like early risers on a regular basis, and I'm still like we're still early risers. It's just
We just
have
don't
to
leave
wait
early.
for the rest of the world to wake up where we are. Yeah.
Also,
Currently, what, 10:08 in Morocco as we
yes, it
it
is.
is.
and it is 4 in the morning in Texas right now.
Okay.
Somebody
So,
is
yeah.
way too late, but
Man.
Right.
so
Oh.
you get, I know we've spent a lot of time, we've kind of given the backstory. I'm going to go through a few things, but the points that I want to kind of get on, we talked about the COVID lockdown. You can't really go anywhere because everywhere is locked down. What is
March.
what is it like being now in Morocco? Like the food, the culture, like how are you like, how would I say this? How are you being treated, being that you've been there, but now you're permanently kind of there for the time being?
We've had our ups and downs in Morocco, honestly. As Americans in Morocco, as Americans anywhere, really,
honestly.
it's they look America's wildly glamorized, fantasized, and when you leave and you go somewhere else, even though like except for the UK because the UK thinks they're better, but
Right.
anywhere that you go, pretty much the whole idea of being an American is like, wow, you have so much money and you must be able to do this. And
Where is your Ferrari
where's your large home? And you're here and it's a look like it. They look at us as luxury pretty much. And so with that comes inflation for us only. So as far as being in Morocco, there have been times
that I have been ashamed that I speak English only.
Yes. Because like when there's no price tags here. Only when you go to like stores. Currently, we're fortunate to be in a city where
the prices are posted in most places.
On the candle.
Right. It's basically what Americans don't know is that in other countries it's a bargain. It's basically negotiate. Like going to Mexico, I negotiated with somebody on a price. It's not a set price, but it could be high depending on who they're talking to, because you could buy a rug or you could buy like a blanket for $7.
Right.
But then the other person is a better negotiator and they get it for like
right.
And I mean, Europe is the same. Like Europe has like their prices and stuff. I mean, sometimes things go a little south when you're like renting a home or something and it's not on Airbnb. And then they might like try and hike the price up or something on you just because you're from America. But in Morocco in itself, it's a cash society.
Yeah.
they're really great with numbers because nobody has prices on anything, but they can tell you the price of every single thing inside of the store.
Right.
And so when we've gone to markets and whatnot, they've done a little bit of a markup on us that we don't find out until we've met somebody who's nice and they tell us, well, why
You
did you
paid too
pay
much.
that much for? Why did you?
So they scam. It's not really a scam, but they basically just overcharge you because you were
Right.
Yeah, scam. We'll refer
there. She
to
said
it
it is
as
a
what,
scam.
yeah, call it what it is. It's a scam. And that's been even just last night. It happened as far as like a taxi ride, and it happens often because there's no way to really fight that. There's no way for somebody to not, like, unless you just know how much things cost. Because we ask how much things cost instead of just giving. I have learned to just give how much I know the prices, but prior to all of that, when you ask them how much it is, they'll kind of like think about it and think about how much money they want from you, and then they'll give you that number. It's not fair. Anyway, so that's been that, but I guess go ahead, being
What's that?
the whole culture of being in Morocco.
What's the culture like? What's the food like? What are the challenges of you being from America and now being in North Africa?
I think that it's definitely a Muslim culture, and that is not necessarily a challenge unless you do not subscribe to that. It's not that the religion is pushed on us. We are women. We do dress differently. They are usually fully covered. That's not something. First of all, someone who is a northerner. I was gonna say, well, it wouldn't be a challenge if I was willing to maybe cover up a bit more, but I am always hot. Honestly.
It's a challenge if you are extremely Western.
Right.
So if you're like coming from like being a Western woman and being able like, yeah, in the States our voice is still kind of like, but you have way more of a voice over in the Western culture than you do here. And as far as like your Muslim beliefs or the Muslim beliefs here versus what we believe are vastly different.
Fair enough.
And that's where the challenge comes, I'll say. We have completely different experiences as far as what we think. Like as far, I would say for me it's a bit of a challenge because I am unmoving on some of my beliefs, or I'm unmoving on the things that, like, I'm a different person and I stand out, and I'm not willing to not stand out just because somebody told me I can't, because I'm not used to that. I'm not used to somebody telling me I can't. I'm not used to somebody telling me or saying that maybe you should do something differently. Like, I've always walked to my own tune. So when you get to a place where walking to your own tune is a bit of a problem, that's where it becomes a little bit of a challenge for me.
That's fair. I can wholeheartedly agree with that. I am a bit more flexible, but she is right. There's a lot of mansplaining that goes on here. It doesn't matter if you know, like, people have literally tried to tell us things about America because they're a man. And it's like, I lived in America for 28 years. You can't really tell me
that, or they try to tell us about women's bodies,
like,
and they're a man,
and the functions of a woman's body, and
what we should or shouldn't do, or how certain things in our bodies work. And it's like, well, how do you know?
So I think that it's definitely it's still like a very patriarchal society, and that works in some ways. It works for them, and that's what works for them.
Right.
It wasn't what we were
coming from the West. Sorry to interrupt. Coming from the West and then being in a country and the differences of like opinions and beliefs. It's actually like for you, you're starting to see it from like a different standpoint because you're from America and then traveling and then coming to it. It started an interesting clash because Shanell and yourself are both very standout, very distinctive characters, basically.
right.
As far as like how you're seen.
Right.
Right.
And so when you come here for vacation versus coming here to have to live here for some time, that changes completely. So you can
a few weeks. I was gonna say a few weeks is cool, but when you have to like integrate yourself,
right, that's when
that's
those
when-
challenges hit, because you can come here and you can be like, oh, Morocco, you know, like, oh, this is great. I can go and I can eat couscous and I can go and experience tagine. And you don't have to, like, you can block out those things. It's sort of like going to, like, you come to America, foreigners come to America and they don't see all the stuff that we actually see.
Yeah, let's go to New York City or LA.
Right, you go and you
Right.
have fun and
Right.
you block out those things, but when you're forced to have to be in a place for so long, you can no longer block that stuff out. You can.
You gotta face it and
right.
find ways to deal with it.
Right. So in the many places that we've been, like, the culture is cool. I mean, it's a family culture, so we'll say all the places that we've been or the people that we've met, they've welcomed us into their home. You eat from the same plate.
It's very communal.
Yes, it's communal. So you eat from the same plate. In some cases, you drink from the same cups.
When we first got here, actually, there were a lot of like little water stations, if you will, with coolers or clay coolers and a single cup tied to that cooler. And whoever's walking by, if they're thirsty, you just stop, you drink, and keep moving.
Gotcha.
Did not quite get with that, but I thought it was very interesting. I thought it was super cool. It's like I got my bottled water right here.
But the food thing, like, as far as food goes, couscous is a thing here, but
couscous is far different.
I will tell you it's far different than what we think in America couscous is. So while you can find couscous and it's some of the best couscous we have, if you're part of the culture, like the Muslim culture, they only have couscous on Fridays. Like the families, that's when they have couscous. They don't have it like every day or with every meal or whatever. It's a Friday, so we live for
that's very
couscous Fridays.
Couscous is like Friday. It's like in America we have like theme days or like, you know,
right.
That's interesting. So your couscous day.
Right. It's not compulsory. They'll tell you that in a heartbeat. It's if they choose to. They serve it with buttermilk on the side, so you drink buttermilk while you're eating couscous. And it's a really long preparation process. It, you know, like couscous in America, we just, I mean, I don't know how everybody cooks it, but
we just kind of it's a quick.
I'm sorry, vegetarian, like meat eating, like what is the population as far as how they're eating food? Is it mostly meat eating or?
It's not so much as mostly meat eating. They portion their meat differently. So
it's a luxury almost.
In America, like, we'll have all the meat.
Huge protein.
Lots of meat on plates. And here, they'll take like maybe...
So for example, one couscous Friday, we had turkey, then, and they'll just put like one turkey wing on the plate and everyone eats one turkey wing.
Right.
Like it could be 6-7 people and you
like
one turkey. Exactly.
Shared amongst a group.
Right. And one thing that we learned or that I read and that I've noticed, you do not refuse. Like if someone offers you meat of some sort, you don't refuse it, you eat it.
And if somebody invites you somewhere, you don't refuse.
You go.
You go.
If it's like a parent, like
because they don't. I was gonna say they don't invite a lot of people into their homes. They are very hospitable, but sometimes you'll know people for 3-4 months, and then if they say, "Hey, I want you to come for lunch," you better say yes. Right. Like you better rearrange your day.
It's like, I'm inviting you to my family. You better.
Pretty much.
Like in Atlanta, that's like when I was invited to like barbecues. Like,
right.
Yeah, like if you don't come now, I don't need to invite you again.
Better get okra and mac and cheese, I swear.
Right.
Better get leftovers too.
Exactly. Take a plate. Don't offend me.
There's that. But we've had like tagine and we've learned to cook these things because when it comes down to like what vegetables and whatnot you have allotted to you here, because I'm gonna tell you, all the vegetables aren't here. Like I haven't seen asparagus in months. And
you can go to the market and get it, but
I haven't seen asparagus here at all.
Okay.
Broccoli? No broccoli?
Broccoli is here, but everything's seasonal.
Everything, I was just say, so
everything is seasonal. So you will not find, like, we can find broccoli and oranges and whatever year round in the States. This stuff, they literally plant and pick when it's time to do so.
So we haven't seen broccoli on it, like at our local stores or markets on the side of the road since earlier this year.
There's no
Go to the big
major
store.
supermarkets, right? There's no Walmart.
No, there's definitely,
There is.
there are.
There are
They're
Walmart
just,
in Morocco.
No, it's called Marjane, and it's just, we know of 3 of them.
and they're spaced out.
Right. And it's not like easy, like, oh, I can just go to.
So like,
and most of the,
I get no. Like, I guess where I'm going with that is like the big box like retail stores that they're used to. It's completely different.
completely different. Like, you're not gonna find a Kroger or grow, like, everything you need, like everything you can find in Marjane, you can pretty much find
On the
street, because they have so many little convenient, what we would refer to as like convenience stores.
Like,
But
here's the person selling grapes. Here's the person selling broccoli.
Right.
Here's the
Right.
Everything's very individual by the tents and the market.
Right. And then they have these stores where you can pretty much buy like your fabric softener and your tissue and like everything you can find on the streets in different places.
Or someone with a mule rolling down the street with those things.
Or a horse.
Or a horse.
Kind of coming down the street. It's only, you go to Marjane, like we go to Marjane sometimes for, I don't really know, sometimes.
Because we're bored.
Yeah, we go to Marjane because we're bored. Not so much because we need to go there, but like if I need to buy some paper
I think another use for stores like that is if you don't want to go to a bunch of different places. Right. It's all in one place.
Because sometimes you can go to a store and you're looking for a pack of noodles, and this other store doesn't have that pack of noodles. So
you gotta go next door.
You have to go to a bunch of different places. Like, oh, this place might have tomatoes, but this place doesn't have tomatoes, and they have other stuff. So when you don't want to go and shop around to a bunch of different stores, going to Marjane to just do your one quick sweep is better. But sometimes you find that going to the big box stores may cost you a little bit more than you buying from the street. Like tomatoes, a kilo or a pound of tomatoes may cost you 5 dirham, 50 cents.
I felt like you were talking about North Carolina.
Right. It may cost 50 cents for a pound of tomatoes in the big box stores, where you can go down the street and it costs you 20 cents for a pound of tomatoes.
What is like the difference in price? Like American money, your parents send you $10.
What's 100 dirham?
100 dirham here.
100 dirham?
And that is enough to buy groceries for 3 weeks. Almost. That's enough to eat out every single night if you decided to.
So cost of living is like really, really good compared to like when you get American dollars, you're like, great, I can do this now for
you can do everything.
Right.
That's wild.
For example, last night we went and refilled our Wi-Fi. $20 for 80 gigs.
80 gigs of data and 2 hours of talking.
$20 American or dirham?
$20
American dollars. 199 dirham.
Interesting. And you were able to get more gigabytes for like Wi-Fi or like internet?
Yeah. Wi-Fi.
Oh, got you. Okay.
We're not going to use the phone time, but
right. The phone time we don't really need. Like the phone time is because people. So when you cross the water, you realize that like in America, when we have our phone plans and whatnot, we have unlimited talk, text, all this stuff, because America's so big and you can talk to everybody. And I see where that is a good thing. But when you cross the water, everybody has like WhatsApp. Yeah. And Caribbean WhatsApp is used on the internet. And so when you have just data, you don't really need minutes or anything unless you want to talk to people that are close to you. But even in that, like phone culture and it's not a huge thing. Like being on your phone all the time or having to need some like 80 gigs to anybody here would
They're
be,
like, that's too much.
that is 10 gigs is too much for them. Like most people have like 4 gigs of data or 1 gig of data or 3 gigs of data, and you pay $2 for that type of stuff just to have it. But nobody really like, nobody needs it because you're in people's face. Like the whole like social media, we've seen that people, even in like Europe, we've seen that people value more
Face-to-face interaction,
right, than being on the phone on a regular basis. Like even when we bought plans,
go to places like India, and they, after work, they go outside and like talk to each other. Like the elders in the community, you know, speak amongst each other, and the kids
right?
play, and like it becomes very
yes,
community. So the social
right,
media for them is like everybody's out doing stuff, and like we just talk. Hey, how's your day?
right.
Life? How's your job? Whereas like in America, we just go back to our household and get on our
Stay inside. I
And
was gonna
play on our
say,
technology in the home, and it's great. Let me tell you, like before we left, we had a complete smart home, a Nest, a Google Home, a
right.
Chromecast. I still take my Chromecast everywhere. It's my little buddy. It's my little buddy for streaming and whatnot. And for people like us, like because we are digital nomads, just to touch on that again, we have to be able to stay connected to the internet, which is why we need it. We have learned that, and I'll speak for myself, I'll let her speak. I've learned that I don't need my phone. I don't need to be as accessible as I did in the staff. Never really needed that. But I think when you're forced into a society where people think that you have to have access to somebody on a regular basis or you should just live on your phone or whatever, I think I've come out of that particular thing. Like if I need to talk to my family. But the thing is, if emergencies and stuff happen, there's no way that I can get there at that particular time, at that very moment.
especially with COVID.
With COVID and with planes and how long that stuff takes when an emergency happens, I'll be notified. But I know that in those moments, there's nothing I can do.
Right.
And the situation will be handled the way it needs to be handled. That doesn't take away from the fact that I need to be like, I talk to my family when I need to talk to them, but I don't have to have my face in the phone 24/7. One, there's so much more of life to look at than in my phone. Like the pictures that I've scrolled and I've seen, I see now because I've looked up, because I can look up and see stuff, or I've been able, like, even with us being here, communication has gone up far more than when you're in the States and you have work and sometimes you go home, you don't want to talk, or you do bury yourself in your phone.
Right. All right. Wait on them to come back. Wait on them to come back. We lost them for a minute. All right. Hold on.
I think this is what he was expecting.
I can
Hello?
hear.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
No. Sorry. The connection just went.
Okay. Here we go. Okay.
Can y'all hear me?
Yes. We
Yes.
can hear you
We're good.
now.
All right. Cool. We're back on. We are back
But
on.
that's just one of the things that. Right. We're back on. That's just one of the things that I've learned, is that I don't have to be engrossed. Like I have to do the things I need to do for work, and that's where my internet comes in. That's where the whole digital thing comes in. But for me, I have way more time and I have more of an appreciation to be outside of my phone than always being in my phone.
So I think what's fascinating to me, and this is why like I was compelled to like do this story and bring you guys on and like really just find out the entirety of it, was the internet has caused everybody to be able to work anywhere in the world. You can be in the Caribbean, you can be in Brazil, you can be in Japan, in Russia. It's not a centralized location anymore. I can be working on an IT project in Russia, in Moscow, or Puerto Rico, depending on where I want to do things. So it's half that, the fact that you've been able to travel, even though it's been a struggle. We've talked about that from the beginning of this year to where we're at now. But it's taking a risk. It's leaving behind what you're comfortable with, what you know, and then creating a new story with different countries, with a
Right.
passion for, I will do different jobs. I will walk dogs. I will take care of houses. I will go to Morocco and write stories and create Patreons. Like, this is a new future where you have half of it on the digital side, and then the other half is, I also have to realize what's beyond my phone, what's right outside of my door. And right now,
Right.
that's completely different than Atlanta or California or Texas or Chicago, Bre, where you grew up. And it's just interesting to hear these perspectives leaving.
Most definitely.
What is it like being a digital nomad? I'm going to skip these topic points. We'll talk about what's next in your adventure, and I think we'll close. We're approaching the 2-hour mark. I don't want to
Oh my gosh.
Yes.
keep it within that time frame, but
Yeah.
Okay.
digital nomad, in short, what does that mean for you?
I would love for Bre to answer because she has more clients than ever at the moment.
Go ahead.
I get, I don't know. Some weeks it's slow. Some weeks it's too much. It's definitely learning to manage your time. It's definitely keeping your skills sharp.
Mm-hmm.
And being willing to learn more, especially in my field. I went to school and got a degree for graphic design, and some people would say that was stupid. I did it, and I've been out of school for, oh my God, almost 10 years now.
Right.
Oh my God.
Wow.
It's meeting challenges. I think that a unique thing, or I think the cool thing about graphic design is all it is problem solving, and that is all we've done since we left. It's visual problem solving, but a part of that is putting yourself out there, which obviously I've explained. I'm an introvert. I don't talk about myself much. Apparently Shanell had to plug me because I wasn't going to do it. I get a lot of word of mouth clients, which has been really surprising and really humbling, and really like it's been like a lot. I'm like, bruh, like I don't know.
Right.
I was like, oh, this is just what I do. This is cool, but it's surprising to hear the feedback, or the clients that I do get that are from other people. It's like, oh, I did this months ago, and you're telling me that so and so referred you. Oh my God, thank you. And it's taught me gratitude. So it's like a lot of people will refer people. I've heard, I don't know, I've seen. You refer people, and that is an opportunity to express gratitude. I'm gonna go back, and if I can say something, because you've changed my life, you've helped my life, you've done whatever it is that, like I couldn't do it. Like I don't have reach or access to a million people, but within the world, even like from other countries, like other people will bolster you. So I don't know. I don't really know how to answer your question, I guess.
No. That in itself answered it. I mean, you've been able to get new clients. You've been able to get referrals. You've been busy at some points, not busy at others. But it's,
Right.
I guess for me, it's like, it's interesting that you're doing sort of like a contract working lifestyle of like,
Right.
this is what I'm doing for this 4 months. The next 8 months, I'm working on this marketing campaign that needs graphics and this. The next
Right.
2 weeks, I'm doing this, and that. So your
Right.
life is not a career of just, I work this job for 5 years, then I work this job for 3, then I work this job for 10, and I move up. Your lifestyle is like project after project, and referrals become the next thing, and then you gain new skill sets, you gain this, you're working in different locations, so you're not tied in some office, or you're not working from home in your house in America. You're in the
Right.
middle of Morocco doing graphic design.
And so, listen, and that is like the
Crazy.
thing. I think what I have learned as far as the digital nomad goes, because she has, go ahead. Well,
I think, if I can add, I think that there is also something to be said or something amazing about what you just said. Being able to, because you, like,
I
as
was just about to
creatives,
touch on it.
as creatives, being in the same place can create a rut.
It really
If
can.
every day you're going to the same Dunkin' Donuts,
You're killing creativity.
you're killing your creativity because you don't have to think about life differently. Even when I was in America, I used to increase my happiness. I used to work 15 minutes away from work, and increasing happiness for me, and this is like a real study, if you do something just a little bit different outside of your routine, it retrains your brain and increases dopamine, I believe. I don't want to go into all that. Serotonin or dopamine, one. So it's like if it takes you normally 10 minutes, 5 minutes to get to work, and you just go the other way and it takes you 12 minutes, the fact that you get to see something different increases the happiness molecule or chemical in your brain.
Yeah.
And
So the fact that we moved around Agadir, we're still in the same city. We've moved around to different locations. We've had different coffee shops, and these people get to know us. But just the fact that we're moving around, and I do have all these different projects, and you get to see all these different things, I can incorporate that into my work. I can incorporate those experiences into what I'm doing. But I'm also increasing my happiness because I'm not stuck at the same desk.
And this is what I was going to say as far as like being a digital nomad goes and being a creative. Because for me, the experience is a bit different. I don't have the luxury of like having clients on a regular basis just because of the way that I've taken my writing career. For me, as far as a writer, just being outside of the country and being a digital nomad, like it takes for writers to write, you need imagination. And being in one place all the time will stick you to that one particular thing, and eventually you run out of things to say or you run out of things to write about. But the great thing about being a digital nomad also is that being a digital nomad itself, you are living, and the things that you are doing are to support where you're going. So the point of being a digital nomad is to travel and see other stuff, and these other things are just to help you keep that going.
It's almost like a person, like it, I don't know, it comes across like a hustle mentality. Like, I'm going to this new country with new colors, new things, new people, and like you're just learning different skills that will put you into a whole nother situation, and then it's new things.
Right.
That you're writing or you're creating or you're working for a business. Like we've gotten used to this work from home lifestyle with COVID and what's been going on, but it's also taught us that, like, you know, it for you, it's like taking chances, taking risks, but also like knowing that you're going to be taken care of because you have that hustle mentality. Wherever I go, I will work, I will figure out how to make this all work out. I think so many people are scared to make the step that the two of y'all made.
It's not an easy step to make.
It's
It's definitely because, like she said, sometimes it's slow, sometimes you don't get it, sometimes you worry about if I'm going to be able to afford this next place, sometimes you worry about if I'm going to be able to afford this next plane. And but it's worth it. Like I would never, and this is, I guess, going into it's worth it. As far as me being a writer, we've been to so many different countries, and there are so many different outlooks. There are new perspectives. There's new gratitude. There's new abundance. There's always something new to appreciate when it comes to going to so many different places. Her as a designer and her looking at how tall a building is and being able to incorporate that into her work, and me going and looking at how tall a building is and being able to write about standing tall, like there's so many different There's so
Working on
many,
beaches.
yeah, working on the
Working
beach
on
or
beaches, like
And
working in the
completely
cafe.
glass cafes.
Yeah,
Like,
like there's so much
the
to,
color of Morocco, like the browns and oranges.
oh my God. And I was just
and
talking
it's
about
crazy. But
this.
the thing is, there's so many other, the browns, the oranges. When you look at the sky, there's pinks, there's blues, there's purples,
Mm-hmm.
there are reds. The sky was red one day, and that was
I mean, like legit red.
and that was
Right.
absolutely crazy. But it's just being able to work, being able to do something that you love doing.
That's dope.
Being able to do something that you love doing, or even something that you have to do, being somewhere else makes it all worth doing so.
Yes.
Because we do what we have to do. Like, we have to work. We have to work to keep this life up. We have to work to eat. We have to work to have a roof over our heads.
Mm-hmm.
But just
Why
the
does
fact
it
that
have to be, why does it have to be stressful? You know, why does it have to be, I mean, can't the hustle be doing something that's different that, you know, like when I think about what y'all have gone through, it's like the uncertainty of not knowing pushes you to do things,
Further.
then translates to you still surviving,
right,
still moving across different countries.
right,
And it's like when you have those doubts and like you were saying, you want to cry or you want to be like, what am I doing? This is so crazy. All of my friends are back home working for like Allstate and like, you know, IT and like other companies. And I'm over here trying to figure out the next move. But like when you think about it and you think about level of happiness, there's people that have 6
Increased.
jobs and they're just miserable. And like,
Out.
you know what I mean? Like you just don't know. And
it is crazy to say that I am fine with crying, trying to figure out my next move, because I am trying to figure out my next move.
I mean, there's a difference between crying, trying to figure out your next move, and crying because your alarm clock went off because you got to go to work
like,
today.
right, like there's a whole
Right.
different level of like what's going on.
You're
there.
gonna
Like,
cry either way.
right,
Do it doing something you want to do.
right. You're gonna struggle. You're gonna have these like mental breakdowns. But I would rather have a mental breakdown trying to figure out if I'm gonna get to this next country in this country, rather than I have to go and see my boss every morning and hear them bark out orders to me or whatever. And I'm not, that's nothing to say anything against the work culture. Like some people love the 9 to 5, and I
Right.
commend the 9 to 5.
We're not bashing the 9 to 5.
Yeah, like that's the, like people who are
Go ahead.
climbing the ladder. Like, if that is your dream and that's something that you want to do, go for it. Like, if that's something that you're crying about to do, go for it. But if you're crying about something you don't want to do, I do not recommend staying in it. I recommend
Find a way to do it.
Yeah, like
something
find
else.
a way to do something else. Find a way to find that happiness within yourself, and that's important. That's the most important thing. Like, even in finding the happiness in doing something, finding the happiness doesn't come overnight just because you did it. It's not so. It's not quick. It's not a quick action. It's trusting the process. As people like to, it's trusting the process that it is coming, and it's enjoying. It's about the journey, not so much the destination. It's about the destination and working towards the destination, but it's also about the journey getting to that destination. Like, yes, it's been hard for us, but there's been so much that we've been to free museums. We've seen buildings from the 1600s. We've seen art from the 1100s. We have
Had dinner
We've had
and
dinners
mansions and
mansions.
palaces.
We've been around millionaires. We've been in places where, for like in the mountains of Morocco,
where they have nothing.
And they are absolutely happy.
100-year-old lady.
100.
I think she could probably run faster than me, honestly.
Walking upright, and like, we have been like being around it just gives you a different perspective. And like she said, you find gratitude in these things. You find gratitude, and I'm struggling because I'm trying to find my next move while these people lay on concrete and they're completely okay with it.
And they're just like chilling in life and they're happy. And it's like, peace is something that's within you, and you have to realize that. And it's not whether you're rich or poor. It's not whether, it's like peace comes from what you decide is your peace. You know what I mean?
Right.
I've met Rastafarians in Jamaica as I traveled into like different regions. I've been to India where I've seen people that are, faced with challenges. I've seen the richness of life, and I've seen the poverty in life. And it just depends on how you deal with it. I've seen people miserable and considered in the poverty level. I've seen people happy and in the poverty level. I've seen people
Right.
rich and happy. I've seen people rich and
Rich.
miserable.
Miserable.
Right.
So it's all comes from within you, whether it's the money or not, the food or not, the travel or not, or what your happiness is. That's a self choice. You choose.
Right.
Absolutely.
And that's pretty much what the digital life and what this whole travel. I mean, again, we're still focused on being stable and finding that place or being in the Netherlands, but
You
just the
gotta
whole,
have fun while you're
yeah,
trying to do all that.
the journey
Right.
has been wow, ups, downs, and for the most part, I have to say, even though there's downs, those downs are still ups
I
because
want
of
people to know after they watch this video, I want people to know after they hear these concepts, because I talk about taking risks. I moved halfway across the country for a girlfriend. I've done a lot of things that sometimes don't make sense, but life is just what you feel is right. It's that
right,
feeling in your heart. And what I want people to get from this interview, and I think what my takeaway point from this entire thing is, you have to take the risk to get the reward. You have to do things differently than what your parent. You might have to go against what your own mother doesn't want you. Like, I
life.
want you to
Telling
go
you.
to Morocco, and you're in Morocco. Like,
Yeah, like that's. I mean, you have to live like you have to live your life for you because I think like you have to live your life for you because your happiness matters, your sanity matters. The thoughts that you have are your own thoughts. Like the stuff that you go through at night, the things that you cry about at night, the things that make you happy are all you. And
right.
so having somebody else inflict what they think may make you happy or what they think may make you sad or what they like
Thank you for your input.
right, that's
Yeah.
cool. I appreciate it. I will take that into consideration, but I need to do something for me and taking risk. And I'm all about. I am one of the biggest risk takers. I know. I am one of the biggest
Yes.
risk takers.
One on the cards, throw the dice.
Yeah, like
Right.
that's just it because every risk that I've taken in life, just even prior to coming, or like prior to leaving the States, every risk that I have taken in life, I have not regretted. I've gained an experience. I have learned something. That's the thing is that knowledge continues. We continue to learn stuff. We continue to learn ourselves. And when you take
Absolutely.
risk, it is when you take risk that you find more of what you're capable of. Because when you're stagnant and you're sitting in one place and you're doing your same job and you're being this robot or you're just not doing anything, go home and whatever, you're not finding out about yourself. You're pretty much just living a regular whatever that is. But when you take risk, you find out how strong you are. You find out the things that you didn't know you could do. You find out the things you didn't even know was possible to do. Like taking risk is a major part of living life and not just existing in it, not just surviving in it, but it's living life. Risk equals living
Right.
in my definition.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
All right. So as we come to the concluding segment of this interview, the two questions that I have for both of y'all. I said y'all, that's myself. I know that's different for y'all to hear in Morocco. You don't hear y'all a lot. But
Not unless I say
Yala. I was gonna say,
it.
Yala is the closest we get.
what's next for the adventure? What is happening after Morocco? What are you doing next? We'll keep it brief. And then closing statements. What is the one thing that you've learned from all of these travels of leaving America? What's the next adventure? Both of you can speak. One of you speak for the other. But I want to know at the very end, what is the one thing that you gained by being in England or Netherlands or Oslo or Morocco? What is that one insight that you learned from somebody that changed your life? So
Wow.
So
what is the next adventure? That's my thing. Where are y'all headed? Are y'all
we
staying?
will keep that one as brief as possible. We have
No idea.
No idea.
We have plans.
No
I was gonna
idea.
Last week the plan was to go to Spain. Spain is still shut down.
Spain just shut down again.
Last
France-
week the plan was go to France. France is shut
shutting
down.
So it's round 2.
3 days ago, the plan was to come back to America. Our flight got canceled because of COVID, so we can't come back to America. We bought those tickets in April. That's been planned. We can't come back, so it doesn't matter.
We have
No plan.
idea.
Stuck in Morocco. The
When
time.
Stuck in Morocco.
Stuck in Morocco. And when that plan comes, that plan will come. That's just how we live. Like that's how we live. First of all, everybody lives in uncertain times during COVID right now.
There's no shame in
There's
that.
no shame in that.
Right.
We literally.
And we give our, definitely heart and prayers out to everybody across the world. Because honestly, right now, with everything that's going on in the world, and it's not just America, it's Europe, it's China, it's
everybody.
It's everywhere. It's affecting every part of the globe.
Right. So as far as that goes, as far as the next adventure will happen when it's supposed to happen. And we will definitely be sure, I will be sure to let everybody know what comes, but we don't know.
Right. I was like, the most sure that we've been for these last several months is that when November 11th comes, we will be back in America until January. And just 3 days ago, they said we can't make that flight.
So everything
come
is
back
the airline
to America in November either.
No, the airline canceled the flight. They said it's not safe. So that's what I'm saying. That was the only plan. That was literally the only plan we
had
knew
in stone
since April.
And we found out that plan could be erased.
Just that easy with an email.
Yeah, they're just like, sorry, your plans of
they were like, unfortunately,
your plans of seeing your whole family have been dashed. It's like,
and that's fine, and that's another thing. Like when it comes,
we just laughed.
We laughed, and we were like, okay, well, and that's the thing. We've learned how to roll with the punches. Like,
I got you.
Okay, so what's next? Like,
right. I haven't seen my family. I have not seen my mother and father in almost, it'll be 2 years very soon. Like in February. It'll be 2 years since I've seen my mother and father physically. I talk to them, we Zoom, we Skype, we do that kind of stuff. But the actual feeling of I see them in the room with me. That's a lost feeling right now. My dad has bad asthma, and I think about that constantly. Like, I don't want to be a carrier, anything. I just don't want anything to happen. I think a lot of asymptomatic. That's what I was thinking. I think a lot of people are just thinking of like, hey, I should just wear a mask, stay away, and not really be around people that be in that, compromise zone. And
definitely wear a mask.
Yeah, definitely.
But also stay away.
Stay away, wear a mask, social distance. Like we're definitely we're doing that to keep the safety of this world. So that's all I'm saying. What is one piece of wisdom that you learned from when you left America? One quote, one thing, one mention of something that somebody told you. It could be something very insightful. You were in Manchester and somebody said something to you. You were in Oslo, somebody said something, or Amsterdam or the Netherlands. What is that one thing that you learned from like a very wise person? Something. What's your takeaway from leaving America? One thing.
Gratitude is the answer to everything. Once you accept what you have, instead of like we live our lives thinking we need more, or like trying to figure out this and that. But the thing is, when you're grateful for what you have, that's when that more comes. That's when that abundance comes. That's when things are just right. That's when whatever situation or whatever happens to you is still absolutely okay, because it's a part of the process. But being grateful for the life that you have, being grateful for the things that you have, being grateful for your health, being grateful for having the love of your loved ones, being grateful for having the love for yourself to be able to do certain things. Just like you mentioned, like, oh, what is something somebody told you in Norway or UK? I'm grateful for having the experience of being able to talk to these people in different countries. Because
Right.
while like the struggle has been real, but being grateful to even have those struggles,
Mhm.
being grateful to learn from those struggles, being like gratitude is like legit where you find peace in everything that's happening.
Right. Being thankful for the things that we have, but beyond that, just being thankful for things that aren't even materials. Like, I'm
Right.
Exactly.
thankful that I took this walk because I met somebody who said something, and in my ear, it was like, I needed to hear this. Or,
Right.
I went to a different place. Like, you both pointed to Morocco, and now you're exactly where you pointed. Isn't that
Right.
crazy? That's weird.
Yeah. And it's just the thing, like being grateful, right? Being grateful for the things that aren't even there yet. The
Right.
things that you want to come, the things that you're thinking about, like the thing like being
Manifestation.
grateful for, right?
Mm-hmm.
And
Bree,
that's what
what
I
is one thing that, like, takeaway point? So gratitude was what Shanell talked about. What is your takeaway? What is something that you've learned or something insightful that you carry with you from leaving America and being on this global journey?
Okay, so I'll be quick, but can I give you
Yes.
my top three?
Yes,
Okay,
definitely.
here's what I have. The very first one is be here right now.
presence.
Present moment.
Present moment is one of the most important things that you can do for yourself and for anybody else, honestly, because it really is easy to look at your entire situation all at one time, but that's always going to be overwhelming. Whether it's good or bad, it's always going to be way too overwhelming to deal with. But when you're in your present moment, that is when the most things are happening. Because what just happened doesn't matter because it's not happening anymore. And what's going to happen doesn't matter because it hasn't happened yet.
Mm-hmm.
What's
And
happening
any
right
moment or at any moment, anything that you do, anything that you say, any of your actions can directly affect what'll happen in your future. And if you're too busy thinking about what'll happen in your future, then you'll mess that up.
Mm.
now? You'll
Um,
miss what's happening.
I think that something else that I really have grasped or understood is kindness. We have experienced, no matter how it turned out, how sour things may have gone, how well things have gone, that has been a constant since we got on the plane. Um, Man, I struggled with it. I was like, why are these people so nice? Like I was offering people money for stuff that you don't have to offer people money for because they have hearts. Like,
Mm-hmm.
and that comes in with being present. Like I think that when you take a look at a person's situation, it doesn't matter. People are genuinely kind and loving.
Right.
And the last thing, which goes on with presence, like we've had the opportunity to share our stories with people that we didn't think, and I'm not going to say we weren't worthy or like we were completely confused, like the whole Thomas Presto thing. Like, what if
Right.
somebody that hangs out with Alvin Ailey or millionaires who've invited us to their homes for dinner and things like that, and they're calling us an inspiration? And it's like, did you hear anything I just said? How is that inspiring to you? Like, but like, don't be afraid to share your stuff. Like, I'm
Don't be
sorry.
afraid to share, sure. You got it.
Right.
You got it.
Don't be
I
afraid to
even
share stuff. Like,
I
be
don't know.
open.
I got fascinated. Like for some reason, I kept telling my girl, I was looking at Facebook just to conclude this all. I've known Chanel. It's been sort of off and on in college, like I told her before, because we had talked before we'd set this interview up. We were friends through associations. We had met people. We weren't an everyday buddy. I hang out with her all the time, but we had that mutual respect. We knew that we were cool. We hung out with those people. And I had many times where we went to like lunch, you know, we went to Moe's and shared burritos, and we went back to apartments and talked. That was the good old college days. And I saw the story on Facebook where she talked about Morocco, and I was like, I have to figure out what happened. I kept telling my girl, like, babe, this girl's in Morocco, but I knew her in Carrollton, Georgia, you know, 60, 80
Carrollton.
Carrollton. And now she's halfway across the world. I need to know this entire story. So that was my like drawing factor. It's like I've experienced so much in my life, but there's also so much that other people are experiencing as well. And we share, you know, we share this back and forth. And I'm just honestly, I have gratitude just to have you on. I'm gonna have gratitude.
I was just about to say the same thing to you. Like, I thank you so much. Like,
cool.
I am the one who is always like, I am the journalist. I am the one who's always asking people for. So this is really my first time, like, being on the other side. Right. This is my first time, and so I am extremely grateful. I didn't know how this felt for other people, but I'm grateful for you actually allowing us to come and tell our story, because it's been something, and we haven't been able to really, like, every time we think about it, there's like so many like points. So we tell people like different stuff that happens, and we haven't like shared like all the stuff that happens for fear of being a Debbie Downer, or for fear of being
killing somebody's dreams
or something like that.
Like, so I'm saying, I could see this like play out like a movie, or like this be like a book. Like we left America. Like it's just like I left America, went to Netherlands, went to England, went to and I'm in Morocco. It's wild.
Man.
The stories that come in between that, like, it's been a wild ride, but I really thank you for letting us like talk about it, especially this one, because she doesn't talk.
I don't
about
talk to her. Like,
but she was like afraid coming on here. Like, I want to be able to like get the truth out there. I want to tell like what's really been happening, and this was the time to be vulnerable. This was our time to be transparent. This was our time to like inspire other people. Although we have our own personal things, but like, as far as my closing statement, I just want to say like dreams come true. Like, this was a dream for me to be able to come, travel, write, experience new stuff, see stuff, because there's more to see than a lifetime. Like, I'm probably not going to be able to see the entirety of the world, but just being able to see some of the beauty of the Creator is just magnificent for me. Like, things do happen, things do come true when you actually follow that inner voice of yours, when you actually listen and say, this is what I'm going to do.
And the dream is moving along. You know, you're in Morocco, but what happens when you land? You touch down in Ghana, or you touch down in a whole nother area. You know, you go back to the Netherlands and you're like, holy crap, I spent almost a year or more in Morocco. How many people can say that?
Man.
Yeah.
It's amazing. I wake up every day excited.
That's like, I lived in Manchester, chilled, and like I just think about it and I'm like, wow, like people need to hear this, because we get caught up. And this is my closing before we head out. I'm gonna let y'all have a chance to give your social media. I'm gonna let y'all have like a sort of, I know you have your Patreon, Shanell, the Feathered Traveler, where she does poetry. She is a dope poet, by the way. But my concluding statement, trying to get back on track here, is most people don't have the, they don't want to take that risk. They would rather live in comfort than to challenge themselves and say, you know what, I'm willing to put it all on the line, all chips on the table, and move to another foreign, you know, place. And I don't want to say foreign, but a place other than your country of origin. Americans are used to being born in America, grow up in America, retire in America, die in America. And the issue with that is that there is not a lot of you go to any country in Europe, like you go to Switzerland and Germany and you go to France and England, there's people from all different places because they're used to traveling and living other places. I am a person who grew up in England, but I'm working in France. I'm a person who grew up in Israel, you know, not in Europe, but I grew up in Israel and now I'm working in Switzerland, or I'm in Luxembourg or Belgium, like you guys are saying. There's so much inner, you know, workings of like where people live and work. You meet people in all places, but there seems to be this very hard fear of like us wanting to just say, you know what, I'm willing to give up this sort of lifestyle that I'm so used to because, like you said, America is what we're taught. It's what we're kind of born into. And to leave it is like the scariest thing ever. You know, our parents are like, don't go. And we're just like, you know what? I want to go to like Peru or Chile or Brazil. Like I want to go to Ghana or Ethiopia. I want to go to Russia or China or Japan. But like so many people are scared to make that move. And what it shows me is that when you do that, you gain a whole plethora of experiences and what you get to go through.
Right.
What is, before we leave, feathered traveler, Shanell Scott, poet, literature extraordinaire. What else do you have? Anything else you want to add? Social media, how to follow you? I'm going to put everything in the description.
Right. You can follow me at Feathered Traveler _ Feathered Traveler, and that's FEATHERTRAVELER _ You can find me there. I have a Facebook page. You can either follow my Facebook page at Shanell Scott, or I have a Feathered Traveler Facebook page that I've just opened up, and you can find some of the same stuff. I do more of my engagement on the Facebook page. On my Instagram page, it's where I post poetry and pictures. It's poetry and sunsets. And then I have my Patreon. For those of you who would like to support, I have Poetry Clouds, where I just post poetry. I have Poetry and the Beauty Surrounding, which is where I give you poetry and I give you inspirational articles and whatnot, those things of where I found peace in certain places or whatever it is. And then I have my last tier where it is, you're pretty much my VIP feathered Patreon. You get early access to my poetry book. You have access to videos that I have or will have in various places that I'll be in, live stream, poetry still, inspirational articles, and some merch whenever that decides to come up. So any one of those is great. If you just like poetry, let's float on the poetry clouds.
Nice. She has a dope Patreon that's starting up. Go and support her. She has a subscription tier based off of what you're looking for, even like custom writing, the beginning package where you're able to see different poems and different poetry. I'm a fan of poetry, so I love it. And I checked it out. You sent me the page, so I wanted to look at it. Bre, anything that you're working on? Anything?
I'm always working on something. I am currently working on getting my Instagram back together. I used to post far more. I'll be dropping some merchandise pretty soon, or illustrative stuff. I am only on Instagram because I'm largely against social media, and I will give that to you guys. I've just revamped everything, so I'll start putting out more travel pictures and things like that. And you can find me at Bre, just literally UHHBRE_. And you'll find, after a while, you'll find more artwork and just travel pictures, and that's just me. Super simple.
Very dope. Very cool. Thank you for your time. I realize this went on for a very long session, but I got a lot out of it. I hope the crowd gets a very nice reaction out of the many, many different journeys that you two have been on. And I appreciate y'all for your time. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
No problem.